Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. It is April the 27th. Time is flying, and we're here with another session of Tuesday Talks with Tonia. And this evening, I'm so happy to talk with a former, colleague, you could say, Ms. Janice Allen Jackson, who is the principal owner of Janice Allen Jackson and Associates, a consulting firm. And Ms. Jackson was the former city administrator for the city of Augusta here locally. She has a podcast called the Local Matters Podcast, and she'll talk about those things. She comes with a wealth of knowledge and insight, especially as it relates to local government, but other things as well. So welcome, Janice, to Tuesday Talks with Tonia. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit and chat with us on this evening. I have women that are popping in and joining, and everybody's excited for this conversation, which is called The Invisible Woman, the We They Don't See. And so we'll get into that a little bit later, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about yourself a little bit and what you do and what you've done, and then we'll get started.
All right, Tonia, thank you so much for allowing me to be a guest on your program. It's fun to be on the other side of the table, actually, as somebody that does a weekly podcast. It's kind of cool to do somebody else's and be a guest on that one. I started Local Matters just over a year ago. It actually runs as both a radio show and a podcast. It appears on WKZK on Wednesday afternoons, 1:30 p.m. And true to my background and true to the title, we feature state and local government issues because there's just so much that the average person does not understand about how all of those things work. So I created it and I have a ball doing it. I tell everybody that I had to create my own show in order to get a word in edgewise, because generally I'm pretty quiet.
Oh, wow. That says a lot, though. That says a lot.
So I created a show so I could talk. But anyway, I really enjoy doing that. And I would invite anyone, if you have missed an episode, if you want to check out what it's about, I have all the episodes on my website. So every episode over the last year and a month is there. My website is janiceallenjackson.weebly, weebly.com. Or you can just Google Janice Allen Jackson and Associates and it will come up. And all the episodes are there. Most of my episodes are evergreen. So they're topics that would be of interest, even though, it was 3 months ago or whatever, you still may find some things that are of interest. So I invite everybody to go check out my website.
Thank you. I put it in the chat. So JaniceAllenJacksonWeekly.com, correct?
Weebly. It's .weebly.
Oh. WEEBLY?
.weebly.com.
Okay. All right. So I'm putting that in the chat group. .weebly.com. For everybody. So if you guys want to check her show out, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a Local Matters tab there. Like I said, all the shows are there. So please, last week's guest was Miss Lynn Bailey. And she talked about the changes in the Georgia voting laws. And this week, we're going to talk some about all the funding that is coming to local governments as a result of the stimulus package that was passed.
Okay.
And how that money can be used to serve our interests. So,
that's something we need to be aware of as constituents who pay into this government we have with our taxes. It's important for us to know those types of things and to be aware and to be educated, because a lot of times they'll say, well, why aren't they using this money for this? Because there are pots of money and it's only allocated for certain things. And sometimes we don't understand that. So yeah, that's a good one to sign on to. So yes. So tell us a little bit about your consulting business. What are you doing with that?
I focus again on state and local government issues because that's what I know. I provide services to local governments. Right now, I'm working, in fact, I'm up in Metro Atlanta. One of my clients is Stonecrest, Georgia.
Okay.
They are one of the new startup cities in the
Oh,
state.
wow. Okay.
And they were facing some challenges, so they asked me to come and kind of help them get their challenges straightened out. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
doing this
That is
assignment, and
awesome.
also do some executive search work as well,
Okay.
and do a little consulting for the Greater Augusta's Interfaith Coalition. That's a nonprofit in Augusta. I started working with them during the census, and our approach was to find ways to reach those hard to count people, typically people of color, men more so than women.
Mhm.
A lot of times the small children get ignored for whatever
Yeah.
reason. People don't realize they need to count the baby, even though the baby's
Yes.
6 months old. Yeah, you
Yes.
still need to count that child.
Yes. Because
So
they will
we
be in
were
school in 10 years, 5 years. Yeah.
right, right. So we were working on a project there, and then I helped them with their Get Out the Vote effort. And now actually we do a series of public forums. So on every fourth Thursday, we have a guest come in. Last week, our guest was Dr. Cheryl Evans Jones from Payne College. So I helped them organize their public forums and a few other things too. So
So still
um,
working in your gift, working in
still
your
working within
in
my
your
gift very much, and figuring out that I had some gifts that I didn't quite know I had. So that's
and you
the
figure that
wonderful thing.
stuff out. Yes. And that's why we're here talking. So the conversation this evening is the invisible woman, the we they don't see. And
Mhm.
when I thought about the topic, it was just so much going on, not just locally, but on the national level, as well as, as far as politics and as far as leadership. And I began to think about, all of the positions that I've had and held. Um, and then the city, for instance, with you were the city administrator. And a lot of times when I look throughout our communities, especially, and I'm speaking more so to the communities of color, we don't necessarily prime, position, and promote women like we do men. We will definitely get a man, we'll groom him, we'll prepare him, we'll open the door for him, we'll get him in there, we'll support him and give him all the resources. But when it comes to women, that's not the case. And 9 times out of 10, it's a man that's in charge who has the authority to do so, but just chooses not to for whatever reason. And I thought about how we are very good at executing. We're very good at, building and putting things together. Now they entrust us to do those things for them, for cities, for communities, for nonprofits, for all of those things. However, they don't trust us to prime, promote, and prime, prepare, and promote us. And I'm like, okay, so what's the problem? And then I look at just even locally on the local level, because I was in local government as well in the mayor's office. And I'm not from Augusta, so let me give that disclaimer. So I don't have any allegiances to anyone. But what I found disheartening is when certain women would come to me and talk to me about, hey, I want to run for this office, or hey, I want to do this and that. But men are telling them it's not your time, or no, we don't want you to run. We already have somebody, and it's a man. And it's like, well, hold up, wait a minute. Now we bring as much to the table as anyone else. And I don't like the fact that somebody feels like they have the power to tell you when to do something that you want to do. God has given all of us a gift, and He says your gift will make room for you. And I'm a firm believer in that. So I don't necessarily need man to tell me when it's my turn, or, I'm not ready, or, I can't handle it, or whatever the case may be. And so talk a little bit about some of your experience, especially with being a city administrator. I'm quite sure you probably were not the majority. You probably the minority as far as city administrators go, and people in that kind of position in local government. So talk about your experience with that.
I certainly can. That's an excellent way to set up this conversation. Tanya, I was checking some statistics recently, and it actually says those statistics indicate that only 14% of all city and county managers in this country are women.
Wow. Wow. And just think of
14
that. So the impact of that alone, that statement alone, 14%. And how many cities and counties do we have in this nation?
of the thousands and thousands of cities and counties, and only 14% are led by women. Um, when I started in the profession, which, I've been doing this for a long time now, but I would go to Georgia City County Managers Association meetings back when I was in Albany. So you're going back into the early mid 90s period. I went to Albany in 1993 and was there until 2005. I would show up at our Georgia City and County Managers meeting, and I would look around the room, and most of the time I was the only Black female there. And, so this was my peer group, so to speak. And I, of course, was managing a larger city than most of them, because at that time, that was before all of these new startup cities were created, like Stonecrest. It was before then. So Albany was around the 5th largest city in the state of Georgia back then. And I started with the organization as an assistant city manager. And then, of course, I was promoted to the city manager position. And that'd be 3 women. The women's bathroom was always available because there were only, 3 or 4 women.
That says a lot.
It was like the boys club, and I felt like I was a novelty, so to speak, because there was just nobody there that looked like me. And then I remember one year I didn't go to the national meetings as much, but one year I was at the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, and that has historically over the last 40 years or so been the key organization for Blacks in public administration. And I was at a meeting, I believe it was 2000. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we had a women's breakfast. And a few of us who had been in the profession for a while were there just to sort of talk and network. And there were 5 or 6 of us as Black women who were leading, cities over, say, 50, 75,000 in population. So it was a very, very small girls' club. So this position historically has not been something that has been open to women. It's still not that open to women, if you think it's only 14%. And with Black women in particular, and Blacks generally, I mean, there weren't a whole lot of Blacks have only come into this profession over the last, 25, 30 years in insignificant numbers. And now, really the numbers are getting better, which is wonderful that the numbers are getting better, but there is still, you feel like an oddity in this profession because people look at you and go, really, you're the city manager?
How did you get that job?
Be the city manager. So it has been an interesting journey. I'm glad to see that there are more in the field now. Doing my executive search work, I do get a chance to touch base. A lot of times the firm that I do the executive searches with will ask, hey, do you know any minority or women candidates? And I'm glad to be asked that question.
Yes.
So that I can get on the phone and start calling those people to see if they would be interested in applying for the jobs that we're recruiting for.
Yes. And that's important. That's important. We need advocates.
There's been a new eye for diversity over the last several years, and obviously I appreciate that there is more of an eye for that. But I want the next level of progress, I think, for us as women, in particular Black women, is for people to accept that can be the norm, that you have a Black woman who's leading an organization.
Right. And I agree. It shouldn't be in 20 and 21 that, oh my God, we have the first Black woman, or we have the first woman as this or as that. Like, that's just so ridiculous to me when you think about all the things we as women have accomplished up to this point. I mean, in medicine, in the military, you have them first. And it's just like, wow, we contribute so much to this nation, so much to the communities, but we don't get the credit we deserve. We don't get the opportunities we deserve. And so it's kind of like, okay, y'all don't want to let me at your table, I'll build my own table. And, and then go past you, then you're going to want to come and play nice with me after the fact that you didn't do anything to help me get here, which, is just a pet peeve of mine. And I just get so aggravated when I hear a woman tell me, well, yeah, I talked to so and so, or I talked to this person and they told me it's not my time, or it's, I'm not ready, or they just want me to wait until the next time. No, ma'am. No, sir. That's not what we're doing. If I feel like I'm ready to run for something, I'm going to run without anyone's permission. As long as I got God's permission, I ain't worried about nobody else.
Right.
It's just me.
One of the sayings that has guided me, quite frankly, is, and I can't remember where I first heard it, but the saying is, my place is wherever I put myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
we
Right.
really have
Right.
to take that type of stand
I love it.
in order
I
that
love
we
it.
have confidence to go out and do. As you indicated, your gifts should make room for you. That's
Mm-hmm.
what Scripture says.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what the Scripture says, yeah, my place
Yeah.
is where I put
Mm-hmm.
myself.
That's right.
And everybody else
I'm
can,
putting that in the chat because I got to remember that my place is wherever I choose to put myself. Period.
yeah, that's it. And as you talked about women running for office, one of my shows it was a few months ago. It must have been over the summer, maybe. But again, that's on my website on the local matters tab. I had someone who works for the National Organization for Women. I'm sorry, not National Organization for Women, Emily's List. They're
Okay.
an organization that exists on the Democratic side. I think there may be one
I've heard of it. Yep.
as well. But on the Democratic side, they offer funding, they offer training,
Yep.
they do various things to help encourage women to seek office. Um, and I had a guest on who talked about some of the reasons that women historically don't. I mean, we get intimidated by things like, oh
Yep.
gosh, I gotta go raise money. I gotta ask
Yep.
people for
Yep.
donations.
Yep.
Whereas a
Yep.
man will just get out there and do it. And we'll go, oh gosh, I don't want to put myself out there like that. So, and
Absolutely.
that you can't run for office unless you have some money.
That's it.
So those are the types of things we'll sit there and go, well, maybe I don't have enough to offer. Maybe I don't have the right background. Whereas a man will go, oh, I can do this. And they just
Yeah.
jump right on out there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there is on top of that, the fact that you mentioned where folks will actively discourage you from doing something that you could be well suited and can make a huge contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I tell people, so I've had, several people approach me that have run or are running. And what I tell them is this, nobody's perfect, because, I can think of a million reasons not to do something, but at the end of the day, if I feel I'm going to make my community, my city, my whatever neighborhood better, then why not? A lot of times we shy away because, oh, maybe I have this in my background. Oh, like for me, one of my biggest things is, oh yeah, my credit jacked up. And I can admit that, but whose isn't? And especially now we're in a pandemic and I've been out of regular work. So, those kind of things will tend to hinder us, especially women, because we want to be put together. We want to be well presented. We want to be kind of perfect when we do something we don't have to be. And when I look at our nation, quite frankly, I'm like, listen, half these jokers in there, if they can make it, oh yeah, we good.
Right.
We
But
good.
that's interesting that you say that about how we seek perfection. We feel like we can't step out there unless we have everything right. As I was thinking about our discussion tonight, what I realized is that society forces us to be that way.
That's true. That's true.
Because society picks on us if we aren't perfect. And unfortunately, sometimes we do it to ourselves. I mean, I started thinking about a few people who have accomplished great things. I mean, you think about in the gymnastics competition in the Olympics, Gabby Douglas, Simone Biles, couldn't top what they did
That's right.
athletically.
Right.
But what were we talking about? People
Her
were actually
hair.
Her hair. I'm thinking, do you realize what these young women have to do? How much they gotta sweat and practice? How many hours they devote to that so that they can be Olympic gold medalists? So we pick on them because they didn't look quote unquote perfect. And I'm sitting there thinking, let's compliment them on the fact that they're on top of their profession.
Right. Absolutely. And it's sad because typically we're the culprits, we do it to each other. we as blacks have a tendency to want to ostracize or pick apart those that have made those accomplishments. It's like we have to find a flaw. We have to find something to make it a negative thing because it's not us, or we are jealous, or and then it's like, well, wait a minute. If we if she wins, we all win because it's something that she's accomplished for us, for our gender, but also for our, race. And it's like, come on, y'all, if we don't support each other, because at the end of the day, they support them, they support one another. We're the ones who have a problem with really supporting, like, you know what, girl, I got your back, and we don't have to agree on everything because that's the whole thing about, differences of opinion and, different, ways of being raised and different things you were taught and trained and experienced. So my experiences are quite different from yours. I'm not from the South, I'm from the Midwest and up North. And so thoughts and things are different. But when we get together and it's like, oh, well, she thinks she's all that, or, she's not really qualified for that. Cause I got that. So I can be honest and candid, being in the mayor's office and having accomplished the things I've accomplished without a degree. But it was told to me several times by several different people, well, you don't have a degree. But that didn't stop me from getting the work done. That did not stop me from making things happen. Like, so is I don't knock anyone who has a degree, who goes to school, who pays their money, but my experience probably outweighs 90% of the people who come in the door with a degree and no experience. I'm willing to bet that. But we always, find barriers or ways to stop somebody because we don't fit what they think is the
Right.
mold.
And you're right. Sometimes that's education. Sometimes it may be appearance. It's,
Hmm.
whatever, whatever.
Oh, I got
Um,
appearance too. I got about my hair and oh yeah. But I have thick skin, thankfully.
yeah, and you have to adopt thick skin. I was thinking about the term microaggressions. People have used that term to say, so and so said this to me, and that was a microaggression. I started thinking about some of the things that I have heard men say about women in the workplace over the years, and they're not so micro. They're,
Right.
they're just
Right.
aggressive.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
you, you started off talking about the P words, prime, position, and promote.
Hmm.
As I was preparing for this, I started thinking about the D words, dumb, difficult, and docile. As
Mm.
in, I just started thinking about, there was a particular man that I worked for some years ago. And I just noticed, I can reflect back now on some conversations that I would hear him, remarks that I would hear him make in conversation about other women in that workplace. She's so dumb.
Mm.
And I can't believe that we're paying her 60 plus $1,000 a year. And I can't believe that she can find her way to work in the morning, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And I would think about that. Now you say that, and the thing I start thinking, what do you look for to notice when you're dealing with people who are capable of that sort of thing? As I think back on it, not only did he say that about this employee and other female employees in that workspace, make comments like that about his own wife.
Oh.
And
Mm.
that is like a sure red flag.
Very much so. Yeah. Very much
Anytime
so.
you hear men in a professional setting never have
Wow.
anything positive to say about their own spouse,
Mm.
that's
Red
somebody with
flag.
serious issues.
Issues. Issues.
And I saw that as a reflection. I said, well, if that's the way you feel about your Black wife, and
Mm.
you're going to talk about this Black employee in the
Mm.
workplace,
Mm-hmm.
we all need to watch out for you.
Right. We all in trouble.
And curiously, I don't think I ever heard this person say that about a white female in the workplace.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
always toward Black women, and this was a Black man. It was
Wow.
always geared toward Black women. So you hear that on one hand, you hear, well, she's dumb, she's dumb, she's dumb. Well, if you keep getting drilled into your head that somebody is stupid, are you going to promote them?
Right.
You
Right. Because you
really
feel like they can't
holding
do it.
yeah, it's really holding those types of perceptions, whether fair or not, and many times they aren't, hold women in particular back in the workforce. You hear that women are difficult. Everybody
Mm.
wants to use the word, da, da, da,
Mhm. Mhm.
because those women are just so difficult. I remember
Yeah.
the first day I showed up in Albany, and this, like I said, this was early '90s, so this is a long time ago. Obviously, the executive assistant that was assigned to me was a Black woman, and she told me later on, after we had worked together for a while, she told me that several people had come to her and said, you need to be trying to transfer to another department before that woman gets in here.
Wow. Why?
I mean, the assumption was automatically made that I was going to be difficult to work for.
Mm. Mm. We get labeled just like that.
We get
Just
labeled, and that's why I say it's not a microaggression.
it's
That's
not. It's just simply
an aggression.
aggression. It's just simply
It's an
aggression.
aggression. And this was coming from some people who didn't even know me.
Right. They don't have to know you. They just assume.
I was new. I mean, I had just been hired. It was going to be a month before I got there.
Wow.
And they had instilled a sense of fear in her that she needed to
Mm.
go find her someplace else to work.
Mm. Now
Somebody
isn't
she
that
didn't know.
something?
And they didn't know it all.
Isn't
So,
that
so yeah,
something?
they come up with you're difficult or you're dumb or whatever. I guess you're dumb. If they can't make you out to be dumb, they'll make you out to be difficult.
Yep.
And it just snowballs into a situation where no, you're not going to be in a position to be promoted because they have filled so many people's heads with that nonsense.
Yep. Yep. I have a chat topic. So, how do you deal with gender equity with respect to salary when negotiating or just trying to be at the same level as a counterpart? And especially when you may have seniority.
Yeah, you have to tactfully point out the facts. I think that's the first thing. And I say tactfully because
Hmm.
of the labels.
Mhm.
If a woman raises an issue, oh, she's being so dramatic about this, you know.
Mhm.
So you remain calm, and you
Mhm.
and you also unfortunately have to be able or willing to walk away. I was talking to a group on Saturday. It was my sorority, Thompson Alumni Chapter of Delta, and we were actually talking about financial management issues, and we were talking about purchasing cars and that sort of thing. I said, when you walk into the dealership, that's going to be mostly men, and they aren't used to women negotiating.
Right.
But there's something that I have learned, and that is if they quote you the price of the car and you don't like it, you just walk away. And
Absolutely.
it's almost guaranteed that they will call you the next day with a lower price.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, you
Absolutely.
don't have to be ugly about it. All you have to
Mhm.
do, let me take that under advisement and
Mhm.
walk out the door.
Mhm. 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 And they're not
So
used to that.
they're not used to that.
They're
And
not used to that.
I think it's the same thing with salary negotiations, sort of in a different way. You come in and you say, hey, this is what I believe I'm worth. This is what I've contributed to the organization.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember once having a performance review with a superior, and I had to come straight out and tell him, I said, given everything that I've accomplished this year, I think I deserve very high marks on my evaluation. And he was stunned.
I bet. I bet. I bet. Like, wait, what?
But you have to say that, and that gets me to the next D word. A lot of times when men do promote women to positions, I think they expect us to be docile,
Mm,
as
mm,
in they are promoting a woman
mm.
because they're expecting
Yes.
it to be somebody that they can easily manipulate,
Yep.
and that's not fair to any of us.
Nope.
But I think a lot of times that's the expectation.
Hmm. Hmm. I have another chat that says, with all that's going on in the local mayor's office and your past experience, are you going to run for mayor? Wow. Hey, we just say what we like on here, like nobody has a filter.
I see you do. I have been approached by a number of people asking me that question, particularly, really since the day I left the city. People say, you ought to run for mayor. And I just have to pray over that sort of thing. It is not I don't think it's naturally my skill set. I think there may be other ways that I can make greater contributions. So yeah, I don't. You never know where God's going to lead you, but right now I don't think I'm going to do that. But hopefully there will be some good candidates to emerge. We are one of the few cities who, which in the state, that one of the few largest cities that haven't had a female mayor. Because
Yeah.
Savannah has had a woman, Columbus has had a woman.
Atlanta has a woman.
And Atlanta's had 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Shirley Franklin. Yep.
They are Nakisha, and I understand the race is heating up. There's some other women that are going to run against each other. So I think we in Macon are the only one of the larger cities that haven't had a woman.
And it's funny. It's funny you said that, because I get that as well. People are always saying you need to run for mayor. You know, even people in my close circle have said that. And, I'm like, I'm like you, unless God says it, but you never know. But I think, my sister said it's past time then. She said she just saying it's past.
Yeah, right. It's past time. That means somebody need to run. But, I think about even the city councils and city commissions that I've worked with. One in Albany. I worked in Albany for 12 years. And in that whole 12-year period, we only had 2 women to serve on the commission in Albany.
Wow.
And you come to Augusta.
We've only had,
Since consolidation, there have only been 4 women, I think. And the odd thing, I point this out, I'm not quite sure what it means, but I point this out, is why is it that District 3 is the only one that can elect women? I mean, until Francine Scott was elected from District 9.
right.
The only women, 3 women who had served on the commission were all from District 3. And that happens to be the wealthiest district in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that the richest district is the only one that will send women to represent?
But look who gets elected from that district, though.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it kind of plays into the narrative that a white woman can lead, but not a black woman. I'm just saying, that's my opinion, strictly my opinion. That's a predominantly white district. That's a wealthy district, and they will support their white women, unlike our folks.
Yeah, and in Albany is the same thing. That they had a black woman mayor after I left. She ran for commission and won a seat, and then she ran for mayor and stayed in the mayor's office for a few terms. But before, and that was in 2008 or something. I mean, before they had a black woman.
2021. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
And the whole time I was there in Albany from 93 until 2005, and we only had the 2 women to serve were 2 white women.
Wow. So I have another chat. It says, let me go back to it. It says, okay, with what you faced as an administrator, do you think Augusta is ready for a woman as mayor?
Well, they'll never be quite ready.
I agree.
They just need one.
Exactly. They ain't gotta be ready. Listen, they don't have to be ready. Don't be ready, but we coming. So,
there was I learned some tough lessons. Now Congress is getting better. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but Congress is doing better in terms of electing women. But we look at the state of Georgia, and the only women to hold statewide office, I think, if I got this right, because I researched this and I talked about it on one of my episodes of Local Matters. I want to say we've had 2 women as Secretary of State, and those are the only women in Georgia to ever be elected to statewide office, if I got it right. One was a Democrat. One was a Democrat and one was a Republican.
We got work to do. And
and Kathy Cox, and those were some years ago.
Which is sad. That's just sad.
So yeah, it is pretty sad. And it's really, and of course, you couldn't get an African American beyond. We had an African American Labor Commissioner in Michael Thurman, and we had an African American Attorney General in Thurber Baker. But until Warnock, those were the, and you got 3 Black men who served in statewide office in Georgia.
And that's
So,
so sad. Um, and yes, so Leandra says, women who have led such as yourself are needed to mentor the next generation of women leaders, which is what this platform is about. So Tuesday Talks with Tonia came out of me seeing a need with women not having someone to kind of guide them and mentor them. I'm not from here. And so I see things and I sit back and I watch, and I just saw clicks and I saw, oh, this one doesn't get along with this one. So this one's not going to help this one. At the end of the day, we all in the same boat. And if we don't come together, we're going to continue to be in the background. We're going to continue to be under someone's foot, under someone's thumb, and that's just not where we are supposed to be. And so if we don't come together collectively to say, hey, I have this skill set, I'm willing to pour into this young group of women coming up. I've done NLC, which is New Leaders Council, and it's quite different from the Leadership Augusta because they actually give you tools to become the next level. If you're running for a state office, if you want to start your own business, if you want to start a nonprofit, they give you the tools for your toolbox, and it's cheaper and it's a national organization. And so I found that was a way for me to give back and to help those that I encounter that say, hey, you know what? I want to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. I don't have anyone to pour into me. And, we have to stop being so closed-fisted. You get more with an open hand than you do with a closed fist. And right. So women, if we're not our own support system and our own, cheerleaders and all of that stuff, then we're going to continue, and we'll still be saying in 20 years when our daughters are grown, oh yeah, we still don't have any women mayors. We still don't have any women CEOs. And that's just not the way I believe it was intended. I got another quick one. It says, I've had to get help from our white counterparts just to get my business off the ground when my main focus was our people when I am new to being an entrepreneur. Yeah, that part is just, I hate it that we're still here in 2021. So what advice would you give a woman who wants to run, who wants to start a business, who wants to start a nonprofit? Like what do you advise people who come to you and say, hey, Janice, this is what I want to do, as you consult people? What are your main things that you share?
You know what? One of the most important things is building relationships with people who will support you and will truly be in your corner.
Yeah.
And that is one of the toughest things, I think, is figuring out who truly is in your corner. Right. And sometimes it's going to be a white person. Sometimes it's going to be a Black person. But you can't take anything for granted. I have been fortunate from the standpoint that some people that I developed relationships with, umpteen years ago, are the people who have helped me advance in terms of securing clients and looking out for me on particular opportunities. And sometimes it's been people that I didn't know for very long, but I called them up, I tell them what I'm interested in doing, and they say, yeah, I think I can help you do that. One of the great things about, having been in local government for as long as I have, I do have a pretty good sized network, but even, I'll be honest with you, even some of the people that I thought meant well, I mean, just completely, I didn't think there was anything harsh or malicious about their advice. They would tell me some things I didn't want to hear, and I would have to take it with a grain of salt and keep moving. I would have to take it with a grain of salt and keep moving, because people think that they can advise you. But one of the things I heard Eddie Murphy say this a long time ago, and it's absolutely true. He said, you can seek advice from people, and somebody may tell you turn left when really you need to turn right. And at the end of the day, one of the big measures of success or reasons for his success was that he followed his own instincts about turning right.
Yep.
If that was what you want to do, you would go ahead and do it. One of the examples I use, and this is a man, but I think it is applicable to all of us. I use the Eddie Murphy example. One of them is, I'm a big NBA fan. So one of them is one of my favorite basketball players. I don't know if you all remember Big Ben Wallace with the fro, Field of Fro. He played for the Detroit Pistons.
I kind of remember, yeah.
Ben Wallace grew up in a small town in Alabama. He's like the 10th of 11 kids. He had a bunch of older siblings who had athletic talent but squandered it. And he decided, he was going to be different. He played high school football and basketball. He liked basketball better. He thought he was better at basketball than he was at football. But the only college scholarship offers he got were for football. So he went, and this is a 17, 18-year-old. So I cannot imagine what this took. And I'm so proud of anybody who can make these decisions at that type of young age. He said that one of the schools, I think it's Auburn University, University of Alabama, somebody like that, had approached him about playing football. And he said, I'll come there and play football if you let me play basketball too. Wow. And they told him no.
Oh, wow.
They told him no.
Wow.
So he said, okay, well, I'm not coming there then if you're not going to let me play basketball. And he found some junior college in Ohio that would let him, yes, Leisure, I love Ben Wallace. Yes, Leisure. He found some community college in Ohio that would let him play basketball. So he took off from Alabama, went to Ohio, then got picked up by Virginia Union, still a small, program, played basketball, didn't get drafted in the NBA, just got called in as an undrafted free agent and wound up winning an NBA championship and 4-time defensive player of the year. Wow. And this was somebody who was told that he really didn't have it even to play college basketball.
Okay.
So
I can show you better than I could tell you.
Right. So there is power. I say all that to say there's power in making decisions for yourself.
Yes.
So there are people who can connect you to where you want to be. Sometimes you might have to have 100 conversations to find the 4 or 5 who are going to connect you to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
But you have to decide within yourself. So following your gut is the best advice I give anybody.
Absolutely.
You follow your gut. You pray over circumstances. I've had people tell me, oh, you should apply for such and such job. I'm like, no, you can't tell me what job I want to apply for.
Right.
You can't tell me what job I should apply for.
That's right.
And they said, are you sure you really want to be self-employed? I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure. That was one job that I really, really wanted that job and I didn't get it. And it has been a little tough for me to come to terms with, but I also realized that God protects us a lot of times.
Yes. Say that. Yes.
You didn't get something that you asked him for. It's because he's protecting you from
That's
something.
right. Oh, yes.
So I accepted that he was protecting me from that. And he really does. This is what I see for myself in terms of building my consulting practice is what God has for me. And as soon as I accepted that that was it, well, business has just taken off. So that's what we have to always know and understand. But yeah, I tell everybody, best advice, is to connect with people. You always want to do that because you can't get anywhere by yourself.
That's right.
You got to connect with people, but by the same token, you got to follow your own instincts.
And like Leisure said, I'm with you. That's a whole word. And then Jasmine said, preach. Listen, I felt that in my spirit because I know I've had people doing me the same way. And even when I left, the mayor's office, people just did not believe, it's not time, or are you sure that's what you want to do? Are you sure you heard God? Listen, if I don't know nobody else's voice, I know God's voice. Trust and believe. I have my own relationship with him, and he does talk to me contrary to what most people may think. And so you kind of have to, like you said, okay, God, because at the end of the day, what I do is I go to God first because I've made so many mistakes in my past because I didn't go to him first. And I don't want to make those same mistakes again. So now what I do is like, you know what? Let me talk to God. God, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I have going on. What do you want me to do? And a lot of times, because we make rash judgments out of emotion and out of anger and whatever. And I've learned that does not always work out. And so what I do now is, okay, God, listen. And I talk to him just like that. Listen, Lord, like I can't do this, or I don't want to do this, or this is what I want to do. What do you want me to do? When I get that green light, baby, I don't care if the Pope, I don't care if the president, it don't matter to me who comes down and says what, that's God told me I can, so guess what I'm gonna do? I don't need your approval. I don't need your agree. I don't need none of that. It is what it is. God said it, that settles it for me. So,
And even if you follow that direction and things don't work out the way you intend to,
it's okay.
there's something else around the corner, but there's still
It's
something else
okay.
around the corner.
It's okay.
So my favorite Bible verse, Psalms 37:3, the first part says, trust in the Lord and do good.
That's right.
So as long as you trust God and you are doing the best thing, you're trying to do good, not just for yourself, but for everybody else, because God doesn't want us to be selfish with our talent.
That's right.
But you trust in the Lord, you do good, it's going to work out. There's something always around the corner.
And I like, the scripture, all things work together for my good. And in that, when it's working for my good, it's for his glory. It's not about me. It's his glory. And that's why the testimony that I have about where I am today versus what people think, they're like, wait a minute, a couple of podcasts ago, a young lady, I was saying I didn't have a degree. And she was like, wait, what? I would have never known had you not said that. You've done this. I was like, of course, but that's God. It is not Tonia. It's all God. When I tell you the doors he's opened, and once he opened that door, hey, I'm walking through, and so I tell people, you trust the God in you. You have to trust the God in you. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I am fitly furnished and fully equipped for every good work. So everything that I'm doing, he gave it to me. He provided to me. He put it in me. So I'm walking in it. Listen, we're going to be preaching all night, but I'm going to open it up for anybody who has any other questions. Is there anybody online? We have several guests, and I'm so glad that you all are here. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Does anybody have any other questions that maybe we didn't cover for Ms. Jackson?
I have a question.
Okay.
It's not even for just Ms. Jackson. It's for all of us women. I've been thinking about this because I, like you, left I call them golden handcuffs, where 401k benefits, that's what people always say, I can't leave my benefits. But when did we start asking or needing permission from men to go off and do XYZ anyways, or women for that matter? Like, if God tells you to do it, it's a wrap and I'm out. And so I just thought about that. We have to stop giving our power away and assuming that we don't have any. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think that's absolutely correct. And I think that goes back to the not so microaggressions that we were talking about earlier. They will make you think you are powerless. They will make you think you don't have any choices. Your back is up against the wall, and that sort of thing. And one of my other signature statements is, I don't think my back's ever against the wall. As long as I have Jesus, my back is not up against the wall.
Say that again. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else have anything to add or ask?
I have one more thing. I was thinking that a lot of women should, no, but hear me out. A lot more women should run, especially people that you would consider quote unquote common. I think about AOC, the US representative. She's so relatable to most people, and that's why she's a good US representative versus those people that do run that are relatable to a few. Do you know what I mean? Like, you talk about how I can't run because my credit is jacked up. How much more relatable are you going to be to people? And you will be able to understand they're stressed about finances. They're worried about bills. They are concerned about fill in the blanks. If you are that minority and the majority of your people are not like you, there's a disconnect, but that you understand means you're going to be more effective. So I think that's why not just women, but minority women specifically should run for more offices, because they will get stepped down because they remember and they understand the feeling, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Janice, that happens to be my sister, Stacy, who is chiming in. Yes, you are right, Stacy. Absolutely.
Hi, Janice.
Right.
Yeah, it is a tough, that there is a need for more women to run for office, Black women in particular, but there's just the fear factor, the lack of encouragement, as you were talking about earlier. But what we're going to have to break out, because there's so many issues that women are particularly sensitive to. I mean, one of my big ones, if I ever were to run for, Congress or state rep or something, somebody would have to explain to me why childcare is so expensive and why we shouldn't help working parents pay the cost of childcare.
That part. Yeah, I have a lot of mothers on here, and they're like, "Oh yeah."
I mean, it is ridiculously expensive. But the only way you can advance yourself, you got to try to go to work.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
And your kids need quality childcare so that they
Yes.
can learn to read and interact, socialize, all those sorts of things. But I remember when I moved to Charlotte, I was just horrified at how expensive childcare was. I mean, my daughter was 3. And I can't remember these exact numbers. And this was, she just turned 20. In fact, today is her birthday. She just turned 20.
Oh, well, happy birthday to her.
So this was 2004? No, 2005. So she was 4. This is 2005. And in Albany, I think I had been paying maybe $92 a week.
For one.
For one. For Charlotte, it was 176.
Oh, Jesus, that's a house note.
Yes, how many people can pay 176?
Right.
And this was
That's
2005.
ridiculous.
This is 2005.
Right.
So,
I can't even imagine now.
Yeah, think about what they're paying now. And I think the answer for North Carolina supposedly had all these regulations and stuff that made it more expensive to provide the care. But you just, and to be honest, I was getting better care for the $92 in Albany than I was getting for the $176.
That's sad. That is sad.
Yeah. So there are just so many obstacles to women and children, and that childcare is one of the big ones. So yeah, if I was, those are the types of issues that we need women in place to address.
Absolutely, because we're allowing men to make decisions for women, and they don't have a clue, and they don't want a clue, and so we end up with mess, and we end up with just craziness. So Leandra says, my sister said $300 for private, a week. Leandra says $85 a week per child, and that was because she had 2, and that was a discount. Yes, you're working to pay daycare. You're working to pay daycare,
you're working to pay daycare, and there were a lot of people, because at one time the newspaper did a feature on it, and Charlotte Observer did a feature, and there were women said, "Well, I had to choose between paying the house note and paying for daycare, and I wound up leaving my house because I had to have daycare to go to work.
I got to go to work." Yeah. So we need women to work on that. So we're about at the 7:30 mark, just about. We got 2 more minutes. So does anybody else have anything to add, ask? This has been a great conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm so appreciative of your time. I know you're busy, and it's so good to hear the other side because, like you said, people have preconceived notions. They may think, oh, this is who she is, or this is who she is. And it's always good to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So
thank you. And I appreciate that. That is a good comment because, people build up all these images of what folks really are. So they just get in their mind, that she's going to be difficult or, whatever. But yeah, I appreciate having the opportunity to chat with you and the ladies on the forum with us.
Yeah, and it says, Leandra says, Jasmine says she's grateful to be able to listen in on this conversation. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you all, ladies, for joining us. And Janice, you're going to have to join us again. We're going to have to get together and, do this more often because at the end of the day, we have to educate women. We have to empower women. We have to encourage women. And that's what I'm about. That's what Tuesday Talks is about. So we want to open our doors. Anytime you're ready to come back, just send me a nudge and send me a message and say, hey, got something I want to share, got something I want to talk about. And we can absolutely do that. And tell us the days and times of your podcast again.
Podcast drops every Wednesday afternoon on WKZK radio station 1:30. I usually load the podcast on my website and on SoundCloud immediately after that. So just start looking after 2:00 on Wednesdays. Look for new episodes. And I think I saw Lisa Harris down there. Lisa,
She did. She said, "Thank you, Tonia and Janice. Excellent discussion."
Yes, that's my best friend from college, y'all.
Oh, Miss Lisa, thank you for joining us. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm glad I saw her posted on Facebook. This was an excellent discussion. When I saw the title of it, I was like, oh, I got to join this. This is totally relevant.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. And you'll have to listen. So we're Tuesday Talks. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. And so typically this will get edited and it should be uploaded by next week. And so you just look for Tuesday Talks with Tonia, like the Facebook page, follow the Facebook page to keep up with what we're doing. And my podcasts are bi-weekly on Tuesday, so 6:30 to 7:30.
Okay. All righty. And we on YouTube, we'll be able to share it. We can share it on social media.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Tonia.
Thank you, ma'am. You ladies stay safe. Have a good rest of your week and continue to empower, encourage, and uplift your sisters, no matter who they are. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.